What's going on, guys? In this episode, I'm going to break down the fight between Xiaonan versus Tabatha Ricci, which takes place this Saturday in Macau, China. I'm going to go with Xiaonan in this one. I think this fight is going to come down to who's the more effective striker, and I just think that's Xiaonan. She's got more power on the feet, demonstrated more power on the feet with knockdowns in her UFC career versus Tabatha Ricci. She's more of a point striker on the feet, will circle around, throw jabs, throw punches, landing shots, but not damaging shots. She's not really hurting her opponents, causing them to be scared to engage, anything like that. Whereas Xiaonan, she's putting beating on some of these ladies. Recently went through a 5-round fight with Zhang Li, who is one of the best female fighters in the world. Was out-grappled for a lot of that fight, but she was hurting her. I think the official scorecard showed 1 knockdown, but rewatching the fight, it looked like I saw at least 2, maybe 3 knockdowns of Zhang Li, who's, as we know, very good. Obviously, she's the champion. Before that fight, knocked out Jessica Andrade with kind of a step-back cross as she was circling away from her. Kind of was circling, planted, and landed that, dropping Andrade back to her back. So I don't see Tabatha Ricci doing that. In a lot of her fights, she's maybe landing the heavier shots, quote-unquote heavier, but usually getting out-volumed. In her last fight, or one of her last fights with Tisha Torres, arguably she lost that fight. Tisha was landing more shots. I think she outstriked her numbers-wise. The fight after that, Angela Hill, same kind of thing. She's barely squeaking by these wins on some of these ladies, whereas Xiaonan, if it's a strictly stand-up affair, I would put my money on her to win, and that's what I think this fight's going to be. I think Tabatha Ricci, she will shoot for takedowns. She's got several takedowns in a lot of her UFC fights. I just don't think she's doing much with them. Some of them, she is getting submissions over low-level competition, but a lot of times she's getting the takedown, not doing much with it, and the fight goes back to the feet. She's also fighting lesser competition than an opponent such as Xiaonan, and they're also smaller. Xiaonan, she's going to be 5'5". I think she's got a 2-inch reach advantage over Tabatha Ricci. Yeah, Tabatha Ricci's going to be 5'1", and be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Her last few opponents have all been about 5'1", her size. So Xiaonan, she's going to be the much bigger, aggressive opponent. Xiaonan's shown deficiencies in her grappling. She was kind of exposed by Carla Esparza back in the day. Was ground and pounded, got TKO'd. Recently went to Team Alpha Male, who we know are a bunch of smaller guys her size, great wrestlers, great grapplers. So we've seen a marked improvement in her grappling since then. She did kind of suffer in her grappling against Zhang Li, but again, Li is a very good grappler in her own right. She was hurting Li, and I think she actually got a takedown on her in the first round, but then the next few rounds she was getting taken down, almost finished. I think it was the first round. She almost got finished at the end of the first round. Damn near went unconscious, but like I said, Ricci, she gets a lot of takedowns in her fights. I just don't think she's going to be that effective against Yan. She gets a lot of them from the clinch, tripping, things like that. I just don't think she's going to be able to get into a very good position on Xiaonan. To be able to be that effective with her normal takedowns. She is a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She's got a few subs, but again, got to get to the ground to do that. And I feel like Xiaonan, she's going to do a good job of defensively grappling. She's got a good turning sidekick to keep Ricci at bay, and I just think her size is going to be too much for her. She hits way too hard. She's the better striker, crisper striker, really crispy hands, throws good kicks. Cardio is not a question on Xiaonan. She just went 5 really hard rounds with Zhang Li, who I think is light years above Tabatha Ricci, so I don't think she needs to be concerned with going 3 rounds with Ricci. She's going to have the home field advantage here. Well, actually, she won't. No. She is training here in the UFC, but she will be going back in front of her home crowd. I think that's another thing you got to take into consideration is who's the hometown favorite if it does go to the scorecards. So obviously that's going to be Xiaonan. So I just think she's got too many things in her favor. She is 35. Tabatha Ricci's like 29, I think. I don't see Xiaonon slowing down. She doesn't look like your normal 35-year-old fighter in the UFC. So I just think she has more tools, and I think if she can keep this standing, for primarily the entire time of the fight, she's going to be landing the bigger strikes and causing more damage. I don't see Tabatha Ricci hurting her. Again, she's going to be much bigger than her. Tabatha Ricci has 0 knockdowns in her UFC career. You could argue she lost her last 2 fights to a much lower competition than what I would say Xiaonan is. So pretty confident in this pick. I think the odds now have Xiaonan at like a -200, -205. Tabatha Ricci, she is at +170, so not terrible odds. I would definitely bank on Xiaonan in this one, just based off of her last performance against Zhang Weili. I think if she could have defended the takedowns a little bit better, she was landing devastating shots. Weili was getting really tired. And I think if she gets a few more wins under her belt and improves her grappling and her wrestling, I think she could really give Weili a run for her money. So I'm going to go with Xiaonan in this one by decision. Thanks, guys.